This is the ESB 2024 player rankings as we rank the top 10 relief pitchers in all of Major League Baseball. And I'm being joined once again by my colleagues Tom Waspel and Joe Puglisi. And today we are going to rank our top 10 relief pitchers. Well, it's been a lot of fun to release all these countdowns to you guys. So we got to finish it off the way most games get finished off, by a reliever. So let's get into it with our top 10 relief pitchers. And Joe, I believe you will be kicking us off with the first three, or 10 through 8. Go for it.
Yes. So at number 10, we have David Bednar, the closer for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Probably one of the most overlooked players in Major League Baseball simply because he plays for the Pirates. But this guy led the league in saves in the NL last year. His career ERA is 2.65. He is an absolute force in the back of that bullpen for the Pirates. Number 9, we have Andres Munoz of the Seattle Mariners, a guy who's kind of come out of nowhere, a homegrown product to be a force in the back of that bullpen. He is going to be the full-time closer, I believe, in Seattle this year after being eased into it last year. So we expect big things from him. And number 8 is the San Francisco Giants closer, Camilo Doval. And last year, Doval tied with Bednar, for the league in saves with 39 last year, has been electric for San Francisco. They have a force in the back of their bullpen, and I will kick it off to Tom to start the discussion.
Yeah, so I want to touch a little bit on David Bednar, and I think he's someone who can very quickly rise the ranks of this list. One, just because of his ability, and two, if he gets out of that very overrated stadium in Pittsburgh and he goes to a contender, he's going to be pitching in big games, and he has proven to be a big time closer. Again, in a not as pressure packed situation, but he has been very good. Now he has 3 years left before he's a free agent. So if the Pirates were to trade him, they actually probably would get some decent return. It's a reliever, but for a team who is really maybe a closer away and look a team that might have a longer window that's open, he could be someone maybe like the Baltimore Orioles could go after when Craig Kimbrell sucks again this year for them, and they look for a new closer halfway through the season.
Well, it all makes sense now. Now I know why Tom jumped to talk about David Bednar, so we can once again enunciate how much he hates PNC Park. That's pretty much what it was all about. I'm going to throw another dig at this beautiful stadium with this beautiful background once again on our countdown.
Background of a crappy city.
Good for you. Well, I'm going to talk about the number 9 man, and that is Andres Munoz of the Seattle Mariners. And I've been a big fan of the Seattle Mariners team, even though they missed the playoffs by arguably a game or two in 2023. And Andres Munoz was a big part of their success last year in the closer role for the Seattle Mariners. And funny enough, this is the same team that had Paul Sewell at the beginning of the season, traded him to Arizona. Munoz stepped into the role and was great. 2.94 ERA in 49 innings pitched last year, maintained a whip of 1.27. And for Munoz, again, he's going to be stepping into a big team here with the Seattle Mariners. For me, it's a team that I think could go all the way to the World Series out of the American League side of the house. And I think Munoz will be a big reason for it, especially when in terms of the back end of the bullpen. Thomas, you have our next trio of relief pitchers. Let's start with somebody who pitches at the NL East.
Sure will. So we're going to start with number 7 here, with Raisel Iglesias of the Atlanta Braves. Someone who has last year a solid year. He I thought he might have been injured a little bit, but now looking at his numbers, maybe not so much. The Braves also have a bit of a situation where they don't have always like the most traditional closer. So his save numbers, although he did have 33 last year with a team that wins as much as the Braves, some of those saves get spread out a little bit. So we have him at the 7th spot here. At our 6th spot, we have Alexis Diaz, the brother Edwin Diaz, who we will be seeing later. Spoiler alert, Edwin Diaz is one of our top 10 relievers. I know it's shocking for everyone to hear. But we have his brother Alexis here in Cincinnati, who really, I would say kind of came on strong last year, but his 2022 season was also great. To get a top 5 rookie of the year as a reliever is pretty special. He is not necessarily his brother yet, but who knows? Maybe he will turn into him. He is a significantly younger, at only 26 years old, so someone who talent-wise could definitely jump up the leaders here. And then then we get to number 5. And I think once we get to 5, these top 5 here are almost could be interchangeably, because I think there's a separator with their stuff and their experience, and that is Duran of the Minnesota Twins, Yohan Duran. Again, he's only been in the league.
I was about to call
Duran
right here. Call Rivera to the game here. Yohan Duran. Come on, Thomas.
Listen, man, I'm like coughing over here. I need some water. It's
you need a throat reliever. Look at this. Look, we're just throwing out reliever.
I need a throat. It sounds great. But yeah, Yohan Duran of the Minnesota Twins had such a lights out year. Had the last 2 years he's been really lights out as a guy. Again, he's not going to get the most amount of saves because the Twins don't get the most amount of wins, but he's a strikeout guy. He keeps runs off the board. Stuff is electric. And again, I wouldn't be shocked. He has the stuff to be number 1. It seems like to really get as high up on the list here, you have to have the ability to get more opportunities, and just Minnesota is not going to give you, I guess, maybe as many as some other closers or relief pitchers that we're going to talk about.
Yeah, so listen, we'll talk about Alexis Diaz, the brother of the Mets closer Edwin Diaz, and you can see the similarities between the two family members. And Diaz had a little bit of a hard luck last year. His ERA was 3.07, but his strikeout numbers improved from the year before. 86 strikeouts in 67 innings. He's got a rubber arm. He pitches 71 games last season. His first year in the big leagues, he pitched 59 games, so a 1.84 ERA. All the metrics point to the fact that this guy is going to be one of the best relievers in the game. 11 and a half strikeouts per 9. It's exactly the kind of strikeout performance you want from a back-end reliever. So that's why Diaz is where he is on this list.
And I'll touch on Yohan Duran over at the Minnesota Twins. You know who Yohan Duran reminds me of a little bit? Another relief pitcher who used to pitch in the same division, the American League Central. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Joel Zumaya, especially early on in his career before the injuries that he went through. Just electric, just coming at you with all the business, 100+ nasty stuff. He has an electric theme song that he's coming out. Probably not as electric as another player on this list that we'll probably talk about real soon. But for Duran, 2 fantastic seasons thus far in Major League Baseball with the Minnesota Twins. He followed up a season where he had a 1.86 ERA in 57 games to a 2.45, still really good in 59 games. Had 27 saves with the Minnesota Twins, which is tough to do, when you're playing for the Twins, as it was alluded to before by Tom. But Duran has been one of the nastiest relievers in the game, and he is in our top 5 of our relief pitcher core. Now, I'm going to take the next 3, and our next 3 relievers, bunch of studs. Some would consider the best in either league, depending on who you ask. But we're going to go with our next 3. And our next 3, starting with Emmanuel Clase in the number 4 spot. And I swear to God, if I hear another Yankee fan come out and say, oh, we should trade for Emmanuel Clase because, the Cleveland Guardians will just easily give him up. I don't want to hear it. Clase, one of the better relievers in the game of baseball. And even though last year had his highest ERA of his 4-year career thus far with a 3.22, still casually led the year in saves with 44. He's actually led the league in back-to-back years in the saves category and the games finished category. And usually that's normally how it works. A 2-time All-Star in Emmanuel Clase. Number 3, Devin Williams. And all Devin Williams is dealing with an injury. He's going to be missing some time from the beginning of the season. Still, we project that Devin Williams is still going to be finishing off as one of the top relievers in all of the game by the end of 2023 as he continues to dominate in the NL Central with the Milwaukee Brewers. And could you believe that Devin Williams and Josh Hader were once teammates for quite a while for a dominant 1-2 punch in the back end of the bullpen? And Josh Hader, the newly christened closing of the Houston Astros, Mr. Hader signing a big contract. That was 5 years, $95 million signed through the 2028 season. Hader coming off of arguably one of his best seasons of his career after one of his worst seasons of it, not his worst season of his career back in 2022, but now followed that up with his best season, a 1.28 ERA last year, 33 saves in 56 in the third innings pitched. We got Clase, Williams, and Hader on this portion of the list.
And yeah, Clase, Rich, you hit the nail on the head there. He has led the league in saves the last 2 years, but he did fall off a bit. He has fallen off a little bit from the past couple of years with his ERA doubling over that time. So striking out and actually striking out a little bit less guys than he had been in the past. He's someone who, could have been fighting for that number one spot. And I think could have been a close race with the number one reliever. But he's fallen off a little bit. He's probably still up here a bit because of name recognition. So we'll see if he can bounce back this year, get that ERA down, maybe not blow as many saves to get himself higher up on the list. But I'm sure he cares where he is on the ESB relief pitcher list. And I hear he's going to do everything he can to take the number one spot going into 2025.
Yeah, and I'll talk about Josh Hader here, and Hader on any given day, you can argue is the most unhittable, not only closer or reliever, but most unhittable pitcher in the league. And the other difference between him and a lot of the guys on this list, I think most of the guys on this list, is Hader is a lefty. So aside from the 2022 season where you had the trade speculation between Milwaukee and then he goes to the Padres and he didn't have a great year with the end of the season with the Padres. Last year, he rebounded 1.28 ERA, 33 saves, struck out 85 in 56 innings. That is a 13.6 strikeouts per nine. And Hader's career strikeouts per nine is 15 flat. So there are stretches where Hader, 2021 was another one, 1.23 ERA, where he is as unhittable as they come in Major League Baseball. He is at the top, or towards the top of this list, simply because if you had a game with your life on the line, many, many people would say, I want Josh Hader for the last 3 innings of that game.
Now, the funny part about all the players and all these lists that we put out to you is that they've at least have played 1 inning of baseball in 2023. Now, I might be hinting at who the number one is, but Joe, who is our number one relief pitcher in all of baseball?
Play the trumpets. We should have had the trumpets cue. It is Edwin Diaz.
I don't have the licensing for that.
That's true. Edwin Diaz of the New York Mets. Listen, Edwin Diaz, horrific injury last year, freak injury in the WBC, where he tore his knee up celebrating. But at the end of the day, you can't deny what he did the last few years. Listen, had a rough 2019 when he came over with the Mets, but since then, he has been phenomenal. He's been one of the best closers in the game. The last 3 seasons with the Mets, 2.27 ERA, 70 saves, 150 innings, and 257 strikeouts. In 2022, he struck out 118 batters in 62 innings. If you are a quick math major, that is 17.1 strikeouts per 9, a level that has never been seen before in Major League Baseball. He was as close to unhittable that year as I have ever seen any pitcher be. And so that's why he is in our number one spot. We expect him to get back to that level again this year.
Yes, we do. We we do. Yeah, like we were saying, like there's a bunch of guys who are really kind of fighting, I think, for that number one spot, but we just felt that Diaz should be fully healthy this year, and him coming back, from that injury, he'll get back into being the number one closer reliever in baseball, and we'll see if someone could take him down next year.
And you know how good your 2022 must be when you can be placed on the number 1 spot of the list in 2024 and not pitch a single inning of 2023. That's how fantastic of a closer Edwin Diaz lists. And I think he deservingly belongs in the top 1 spot for relief pitchers entering the 2024 season. Well, that will do it. Not only for our relief pitchers for the top 10 entering the 2024 season, but for our ESB 2024 player rankings as a whole. We thank you so much for being a part of our countdowns. We want to make sure you're liking, you're sharing, and you're subscribing to Empire State of Baseball. We have a lot of fun content coming out to you over the next few months. But we wrap up our ESB 2024 player rankings. Sorry, Joe, no Timmy Trumpet, but we got this song.